October 2025. Pokrovsk, the make-or-break city in Donetsk, burns under non-stop artillery. Russia throws 11,000 troops and dozens of armored vehicles into the fight, roaring forward like a steel freight train to crush Ukrainian lines. Then, disaster strikes. Overnight, Ukraine wipes out an entire Russian column. 29 vehicles turned to scrap in a single drone-guided ambush, footage straight from the Azov Brigade. That's not just a loss. It's a gaping hole in Putin's invincible war machine. The numbers hit harder than the shells. Since August, Russia has lost over 14,000 soldiers around Pokrovsk alone. Total casualties across the war now top 1.14 million. One more push, and Europe could feel the shockwave. Yet Ukraine flips the script with lightning counterstrikes. Bradley IFVs spitting fire. Leopard tanks hunting armor at 1,200 meters. How did a handful of Western machines shred a Russian battalion-sized assault? The answer lies in drone kill chains, cluster munitions, and minefields that turned roads into graveyards. Stick around. The next 20 minutes unpack every shot, every explosion, and what this means for winter. Hit like if Ukraine just proved NATO gear still rules the battlefield. Ukrainian drones glided low over the fields south of Pokrovsk and spotted a Russian stronghold tucked behind thick trench walls, where BMP fighting vehicles and 152mm howitzers sat in neat rows. The unmanned craft cut through the cold October air, beaming sharp images back to base, and Ukrainian operators stared at the live feed as Russian armor rested beside heavy guns primed to fire. Screens revealed deep ditches linking concrete shelters, guarding a vital hub that controlled supply roads, and the find pushed Ukrainian leaders to move fast. If Russian plans had rolled forward unchecked, those guns could have shelled Ukrainian positions non-stop, cutting off food and ammo to the front and forcing a retreat that would open the door to Pokrovsk itself. Cameras locked onto more than 20 BMPs parked tight, offering a clear picture of the danger facing Ukrainian troops holding the line. Ukrainian commanders wasted no time shaping a counterstrike and kicked it off with Grad 122mm rocket launchers that pounded Russian defenses and shattered their order. Teams studied the fresh drone photos, marked precise targets, and rolled the launchers into place under cover of night. Ukrainian crews loaded full racks, then unleashed volleys that soared high before slamming into the Russian base, and explosions ripped through bunkers while shockwaves tossed gear and men into chaos. Fires raced across the target area, crumbling walls and silencing several Russian guns mid-load, and the rockets kept pouring in steady waves to trap survivors inside the wreckage. Thick smoke climbed high as the strikes turned tidy lines into burning pits, leaving Russian units unable to regroup or call for help. Live data from the Ukrainian UAVs streamed straight to headquarters, slicing the gap from detection to impact to under 60 seconds, a critical edge in today's combat. Ukrainian pilots guided the drones from safe bunkers, sending coordinates the instant Russian movement showed, and gunners shifted aim on the fly as new details flashed across screens. This tight link let Ukrainian fire land while Russian troops still hunted for cover, stripping away their chance to dig deeper, and the rapid cycle kept pressure locked on the enemy side. If the Russian base had held firm, supply convoys could have rolled in safely, feeding more troops and armor to push the front line closer to Pokrovsk and threaten the entire Donetsk defense network. Every second saved spared Ukrainian soldiers from heavier incoming shells, turning raw sightings into instant results. The sensor-to-shooter loop powered the whole opening move, proving speed of information now decides who survives the fight. Ukrainian drones fed eyes to headquarters, headquarters fed orders to launchers, and Grad rockets fed destruction to targets before Russian forces could blink. Building a rhythm older armies cannot match. Russian losses around Pokrovsk topped 14,000 troops since August, with 903 armored vehicles wrecked in October alone. Numbers that show how this loop tears through mass and spits out defeat. One well-aimed Ukrainian rocket barrage can gut a Russian brigade's punch, and when the last echoes died away, the path lay cracked open for the next Ukrainian wave to charge through. Bradley M2 fighting vehicles and M113 carriers rolled forward through the fresh craters left by the Grad rockets, carrying Ukrainian infantry straight into the smoking Russian zone. Engines growled low as the armored column snaked between shattered bunkers, and crews kept eyes peeled on thermal screens for any twitch of enemy movement. Tracks chewed up soft earth while gunners scanned the trench lips ahead, ready to unleash hell the moment a target popped up, and the whole push moved tight to keep momentum after the opening barrage. Ukrainian soldiers inside gripped rifles and checked gear, knowing the next minutes would decide if the breach held or collapsed under counterfire. Bradley gunners opened up with 25mm chain guns that stitched lines of tracers across the Russian trenches, while M113s swung wide to drop troops right at the edge for close-in work. High-explosive rounds hammered sandbags and splintered timber, shredding cover and forcing survivors to duck deep, and the rapid bursts kept heads down long enough for the infantry to leap out. M113 doors banged open and Ukrainian fighters spilled onto the ground, boots hitting mud as they fanned out in pairs, and the carriers reversed fast to stay clear of return shots. Bradley turrets swiveled non-stop, pumping shells into bunkers that still flickered with muzzle flashes, and the combined noise drowned out shouts from the enemy side. Each Bradley carried a full load of 900 rounds, enough to sustain fire for minutes without pause, and this wall of lead bought precious seconds for the ground teams to close the gap. Ukrainian infantry seized the first trench line in a rush and linked up with Allied troops from another brigade, pushing in from the flank, turning a single breach into a solid wedge. Soldiers vaulted over the parapet, clearing corners with quick bursts and grenades, and radios crackled with short calls confirming the capture. Friendly faces appeared from the side trench, waving recognition signals, and the two units merged on the spot to share ammo and set up overlapping fields of fire. This sudden junction locked the position tight, blocking any easy Russian retreat or reinforcement, and commanders miles back watched the merge unfold on drone feeds with quiet nods. The 33rd Mechanized Brigade led the main thrust, while the flanking unit from the 59th Motorized covered the left, and their real-time link-up showed seamless coordination across separate commands. The breakthrough proved Ukraine has fused NATO gear into live combat. American rides, European tactics, and homegrown recon data all clicking together. Bradley Optics fed targeting info to M113 drivers, who in turn relayed foot soldier needs back up the chain, and every piece talked to the others without lag. Drones overhead kept the picture fresh, guiding adjustments as dust clouds shifted, and this web let small teams punch above their weight. Stats from the Pokrovsk front log over 300 meters gained in hours after such link-ups, with Russian counter-moves slowed by confusion in their own ranks. One Bradley alone can suppress a 200-meter trench stretch, giving infantry the breathing room to dig in and expand the hold. The real edge came from multi-brigade sync on the clock, not just shiny hardware. Radios tied the 33rd and 59th together through secure nets, letting officers swap intel in seconds, and shared maps updated live as boots hit new ground. This live coordination turned isolated pockets into a continuous front, stretching Russian responders thin across too many threats. Battlefield counts show Ukrainian units advancing 40% faster when two brigades mesh this way, and the captured trench became a launch pad for the next phase without a single friendly casualty in the initial grab. Russian gunners fired back with 152mm howitzers that pounded the freshly captured trench in steady waves, shells crashing down to reclaim the lost ground. Batteries hidden miles away received urgent orders. Crews spun wheels to aim south, and the first round screamed overhead before slamming into Ukrainian positions with earth-shaking force. Explosions tore fresh holes in the dirt walls, sending clumps of soil skyward, and the barrage kept rolling to pin troops inside and slow any deeper advance. Smoke mixed with dust as impacts walked across the line, shredding sandbags and forcing fighters to hug the bottom of the ditch. Each gun could spit 6 rounds a minute, and the rhythm built a wall of fire meant to break the Ukrainian hold before reinforcements arrived. A Ukrainian Mavic drone zipped above the chaos and caught 2 Russian soldiers hunkered in a side bunker, then beamed their exact spot to mortar teams waiting nearby. The small craft banked sharp to stay clear of shrapnel, its camera locked on the pair clutching rifles behind a low wall. and operators marked the grid in seconds before the feed cut to the fire control post. Mortar crews dropped 120mm rounds into tubes, barrels tilted high, and the bombs arced out to land dead center with a single sharp crack. The blast flung gear in all directions, ending the holdout stand instantly, and the strike cleared a path for infantry to push past without pausing. This pinpoint hit came from a drone costing under $2,000, proving cheap eyes can guide deadly steel. Ukrainian response from detection to impact took just tens of seconds, far outpacing the minutes Russian crews needed to adjust and reload. Spotters called the target, data flashed to gunners, and tubes fired while the enemy still dialed in new coordinates, creating a gap no amount of raw power could close. This speed kept Russian shells landing on empty dirt as Ukrainian units shifted cover, turning heavy artillery into wasted effort. Battlefield videos show Ukrainian counter-battery fire landing 40 seconds after a Russian salvo starts, while enemy replies lag over 3 minutes, a difference that saves lives and ground. One Mavic relay can shift an entire mortar platoon's aim in under half a minute, keeping the fight tilted toward the faster side. The clash laid bare how cheap, quick tools now outmatch strong, slow ones, reshaping the very idea of ground combat. A $1,500 drone spots threats a $3 million howitzer cannot see in time, and the lighter side strikes first while the heavier one still turns. Russian firepower sits ready but blind without constant updates, leaving guns firing at shadows as targets slip away. Ukrainian forces lean on every buzzing craft to feed fresh coordinates, keeping shells on point and troops alive. Stats from Donetsk count over 2,600 Russian artillery pieces lost since the invasion, many silenced by fast counterstrikes guided by drones. In this single exchange, 2 soldiers gone. In a flash showed the new rule. Speed beats strength when information flows free. Russian fire superiority slipped away because steady data and comms lines stayed broken, while Ukraine milked each drone for live targeting. Jammers and shelling cut Russian radio nets, leaving crews guessing where to aim next, and spotters miles back struggled to paint the shifting fight. Ukrainian channels stayed open, drones fed constant grids, and mortars answered in heartbeats. This mismatch turned a wall of steel into scattered shots, with Russian rounds wasting ammo on dirt instead of men. Frontline tallies mark 960 Russian troops lost in one day across the sector. Many caught flat-footed by strikes they never saw coming. The trench stayed Ukrainian, the barrage faded, and the speed gap carved another win for the side that sees and shoots first. Russian troops poured fresh fighters into the trench for a sharp counter-push, and Ukrainian gunners answered with precise shells that dropped right on the packed earth before the enemy could spread out. Radios barked short commands as spotters tracked the rush, tubes elevated in unison, and high explosive rounds whistled down to burst among the advancing wave. Blasts flung bodies and gear sky high, carving gaps in the tight formation, and the accurate fire stalled the momentum cold. Ukrainian infantry crouched low, ears ringing from the impacts, while drone screens miles away painted the chaos in glowing heat signatures. Each shell landed within meters of the marked line, guided by live coordinates, and the barrage bought vital breathing room to set the next move. Ukrainian squads fanned out to encircle the shaken survivors, then lobbed grenades that rolled into bunkers and exploded in rapid pops. Soldiers advanced in bounds, boots splashing through mud, and pins pulled free as arms arched overhead to send the bombs tumbling down the trench. Detonations flashed orange inside the narrow walls, shredding cover and filling the air with sharp fragments, and screams mixed with the rattle of metal on metal. Troops pressed tight from both flanks, cutting escape paths, and the ring closed fast to trap the remaining Russians in a deadly pocket. Hand-thrown explosives cleared corners one by one, smoke pouring from each blast, and the coordinated squeeze left no safe shadow to hide. Many Russian soldiers fell to the blasts or raised hands in surrender as the grenades kept coming and the circle tightened. White cloth scraps appeared above the parapet, voices called out in broken phrases, and Ukrainian fighters moved forward to cuff wrists and pull men clear. Dozens dropped rifles and climbed out with heads bowed, boots slipping on loose dirt, and the captured line stretched along the trench floor under watchful muzzles. Some tried to bolt, but stumbled into open ground where bullets cut them down. And the rest chose the quick end of captivity over the slow death of resistance. Drone footage later counted over 40 Russians neutralized in that single stretch. A stark tally of how close quarters work flips the script. Real-time drone oversight let Ukraine control the pace of the knife fight, eyes in the sky tracking every shift inside the trench network. Small UAVs hovered just above the smoke, feeding crystal feeds to tablets and forward posts, and operators called adjustments as clusters formed or runners broke cover. This overhead watch turned blind corners into open books, guiding squads to the weakest spots, and the constant updates kept pressure dialed to the breaking point. Screens glowed with thermal blobs, marking friend from foe in the haze, and the live map meant no Russian move went unseen. In Donetsk sectors, such oversight has locked down over 200 meters of trench in similar tight fights, proving the sky now owns the ground game. The engagement unfolded as a micro-battle, victory hanging on mere meters of ditch and seconds of data flow. One grenade timed right can clear a bunker holding 10 men. One drone ping can redirect a whole fire team, and the narrow space amplified every small choice into life or death outcomes. Ukrainian units moved like clockwork within the tight confines, radios whispering short bursts, and the confined arena rewarded speed over size. Stats from the Pokrovsk push list 140,000 Russian losses since summer, many in these cramped duels where information edges cut deeper than bayonets. A single squad locking a platoon raises the bigger question. If small teams can choke whole companies in a trench, what happens when the front scales up to kilometers? The trench stayed blue and yellow, the counter-push crumbled, and the quick surrender wave handed Ukraine momentum plus fresh intel from shaken prisoners. Ukrainian T-64 tanks with mine plows pushed ahead to clear a safe lane, and the Leopard 2 followed close behind to lead the final charge. The T-64's heavy blade scraped earth and flipped hidden explosives aside, tracks grinding forward through churned mud, and the path opened wide enough for the German Leopard to roll without pause. Leopard crews scanned thermal sites for heat signatures, turrets locked on distant shapes, and the German beast moved with purpose to strike the heart of the Russian line. This paired advance turned a risky sprint into a controlled punch, keeping momentum high after the trench fights. Two S-7 Pion, 203mm self-propelled guns boomed from rear positions, shells guided by drone coordinates that smashed at least one BMP or BTR into twisted metal. Massive barrels recoiled with each shot, sending 110-kilogram rounds miles downrange, and impacts cratered the ground where Russian armor clustered. Fires erupted instantly from fuel tanks, black smoke billowing high, and the single confirmed kill blocked the enemy's retreat route. Drone operators kept the feed live, adjusting aim points as vehicles shifted, and the giant guns fired again to widen the gap. One Pion battery can level a football field-sized area in minutes, turning steel into scrap before crews inside can react. Leopard 2 gunners fired sabot rounds that punched clean through Russian hulls, setting an entire convoy ablaze, while Bradleys dropped fresh infantry then pulled back to cover. The 120mm main gun barked once, the lead vehicle erupted in orange flame, and secondary explosions ripped through the line as ammo cooked off. Bradleys halted just long enough for doors to swing open, troops leaping out with rifles ready, and the carriers reversed fast to lay suppressive fire from safer ground. Leopard advanced another 50 meters, turret traversing smoothly, and each shot found a new target among the burning column. A single Leopard sabot can penetrate 700 millimeters of armor at 2 kilometers, making short work of older Russian steel. Combined arms teamwork shone bright as tanks. Infantry, artillery, and drones moved in perfect sync. T-64 cleared, Pion pounded, Leopard struck, Bradleys delivered boots, and UAVs kept every piece on the same page through secure data links. Radios stayed quiet except for short grid calls, screens glowed with shared maps, and the whole force operated like one organism. This NATO-style rhythm has been drilled for 20 years in exercises, now proven live on Donetsk soil where every second counts. Stats from the clash show over 20 Russian armored rides wrecked, dozens of troops captured, and the defensive belt shattered in hours. The Russian line collapsed under the coordinated blow, handing Ukraine a clear win built on gear and timing working as one. Shock at Pokrovsk, October 2025. A massed Russian push hit a Ukrainian kill chain built on seconds, and the attack collapsed. Drones found first, Grad shook trenches, mines fixed the lead holes, and cluster bursts broke the column's rhythm. Bradley put infantry on the edge, M113 kept the flow, and T-64 mine rollers opened a safe lane under fire. Leopard 2 struck from standoff range with APFSDS, while FPV Hunts closed the last exits. The tally in this pocket points to 29 armored vehicles knocked out and Rodinsky held, as Russian losses since August surged past 14,000. This was timing, not magic gear. Sensor, shooter, and movement acted like one hand. The near-term swing is weather and logistics, because November rain could cut drone hours while new HIMARS stocks, if delivered, extend deep reach. Russia may answer with thicker SHORAD, faster demining, and harder jamming along the tree line. Ukraine will try to widen the drone mortar loop and keep armor decisive only at the moment of impact. Here is the open question. The side that shortens the sensor-to-shooter loop by 30 seconds, does it shape the month around Pokrovsk? Drop your prediction below. Tell us what you think and subscribe to Military Force so you catch the next shift before the lines move.